in all the ways that you have been filled becomes your responsibility to withstand the austerity of. What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. For the majority of people listening to this, you are in a luxurious position. And when I tell you all about your luxuries, you are going to deny them because you are so used to them. You don't count them as luxuries. And when I tell you to not only consider it as a luxury, but also once you consider it as one, accept that it is one, then I will push you even further and tell you that your luxury comes at a cost, the cost of responsibility. That being to make the most from your luxurious positions. And you will fight me again and lament the fact that you even have these luxuries because you will not want to accept that your unique position of luxury calls you forth to contribute in that very unique way from that position of luxury. Once you realize this, stop fighting me on it and stop wailing and bemoaning your luxurious responsibility. You might just find the very reason you were created and the actual work you are meant to do in this life. I'm going to try to drive this home from a vantage point of stories, from my own life and the general contrast that surrounds it. My entire life, I have been blessed with love and care. Now, of course, I can be a fault finder and find faults and gaps and failings in everything. But the story that resonates deeply with me, the one that I rely on as a snapshot of my upbringing, is one of love and care. Not just a little bit of it, an abundance of it. That love and care has shown up in my life in many ways. I've shared several stories about asking for a little and getting a lot from my father, from my mother, from my family in general. I've never had to ask for many things twice, and I almost always got more than I asked for. That experience is my luxury, and it calls me to the kind of work that I am meant to do in life. I'll exhibit this in a way here. One of the things my closest friend always jokingly messes with me about is about how my mom always runs around behind me trying to feed me. How, as long as he's known me, she would always ask me for what I would want to eat, worry if I hadn't eaten, and would make me anything I want to eat at any given time if I asked her to. The other day, someone who I love, my girl, was trying to come drop off food to me when I was back in New York. And she asked someone for a ride to bring her to me. And the person being asked to drive in protest was like, what, he doesn't know how to open the fridge? And in a sense, the emotion built into that is the same one that my friend has when he's joking with me or being jealous in a funny and cute way. The emotion that it comes from is that they never had anyone willing to drive somewhere to bring them food, to feed them. The ironic part about that remark also is I literally never opened the fridge. I've talked about this before here. But again, maybe you can call me spoiled. I call it my blessing, my luxury. But my entire life, someone else has fed me, except for a few months last year when my girl left. I have lived on my own since I was 19, where everything in the fridge was bought by me. And still, I never opened the fridge to get something for myself. It's not like I even do it consciously. I can recognize it retroactively. It's just that in the moment, it doesn't occur to me that I can even do that. And part of it is that I don't love myself enough to even go spend the time and energy to make something for myself, to even consider that. And another part is I don't want to accidentally eat something someone else had their heart set on. I love them more than I love me. I want them to have it. I would hate for someone to open the fridge with the hopes to find something that they left for them only to realize that I had eaten it. That would feel horrible to me. And this has never happened to me. And I grew up in the kind of family that would be so happy if I did eat it just because it got eaten. We don't have any emotional attachments to our food. It's always been abundance in my life. We'll just get some more. So I'm not like this because of some trauma. I'm like this because of my blessings. I have no lack here because someone is willing to drive to me at 2 a.m. just to bring me a plate of chicken and rice. Because food always finds its way on my plate. Even when I'm working in the corporate world, someone somehow loves me enough to put food on my plate. Because someone has always been willing to stand in the kitchen at midnight and make me anything I ever wanted. My sister does the same for her kids today. They can ask her for lasagna at 10 p.m. and she will make it. Or ask for something to eat from a store at 10 p.m. and will leave to go get it. That's their blessing. Maybe abusing this blessing would make it being spoiled, but it is always honored because when you are around people who are so generous with their energy, when you are raised around it, you naturally become real respectful of their energy because you literally do not thirst for it. There's no scarcity that you feel. You know if you wanted something, it can be yours. It doesn't become a sore spot, almost something you don't even think about. Although I started with my privileged story, which will make sense by the end, I know very well that this is not the reality for most people. I am not naive. The people in this story, including my friend, have never had this, which is why it sticks out to them as a weird thing. Their upbringing was having to fend for themselves, not having enough food in the house, fighting over whose food it was in the fridge, eating whatever was made, and not having any options, or dare I say it, luxury to ask for something else. So for them, if they were hungry at 2 a.m., it meant having to go to the kitchen, opening up a cabinet or a fridge, and finding, cooking, or heating up something to eat. They literally have never experienced what I have. It wasn't part of their luxuries, wasn't part of their blessings. But that doesn't mean they were shortchanged on blessings, that their blessings were left out. No. While it may seem disingenuous or convenient for me to say this from my position of luxury in this particular topic, I will propose and protest, if you want me to say it strongly, that the very fact you learned to fend for yourself is in itself a blessing of its own, which leads to its own set of work to do in the world. While you did not learn abundance in the way that I learned it, for it to be provided to me, you learned abundance in a way to provide for yourself, to care for yourself, something I struggle very much to do. And I don't want to be crass or careless about this, because who wouldn't like having someone follow them around to feed them? Maybe you would trade your luxury for mine. I get it. Or never have to worry of where your next meal is coming from. And while I am in a position of privilege and cannot discount the blessing that I have, especially if it seems desirable to you, I still want to position to you that all is not lost in this regard, and essentially everything in life is a trade-off. You gained in places that require your own story and recognition of those blessings. And once you do recognize it, you will see that the blessing you did gain has put you in your own position of luxury to give back something to the world from that very place. That I cannot. I simply do not have the same life experience as you. I have this conversation with my mom a lot because she always tries to feed me and I always don't want to eat. This is a running theme my entire life until today. It's one I have found great meaning in now, though. Not eating is not just a casual thing for me that I don't do. Don't get me wrong. I am extremely healthy and conscious of getting my calories, and I hit the gym 6 days a week, and I hit my protein goal, 180 grams a day. But I don't snack. I don't eat throughout the day. 90% of the time, I'm in a fasted state, and I do not feel any hunger. And my mother hates it when I tell her I don't care for food, because she tries to remind me that the entire world is just working for food. If you boil it down, we need to provide for our basic safety in satiety. We all ultimately work to fill our stomachs. Go listen to episode 363 on me fighting this even more and my arguments about this particular subtopic of working to eat. I know this logically. It is not lost on me that sustenance is survival, that it is what we first and foremost need to do. But here's the kicker. And you needed to hear the backstory to understand my thought process here. Who else but me can minimize the importance of food? I mean, a person who has had the luxury, the blessing, to always have an abundance of food, have an abundance of love, have an abundance of people who will go out of their way to feed them, literally with their hands for 15 years of their life. Who else could say food is not important? Could you expect this from the person who starved their whole life? You couldn't even expect it from my friends who have had to fend for themselves and not starved. I am uniquely in the position to minimize the importance of food. Why? Because my luxury, my blessing, which becomes my capacity, my potential, what I am filled up with, not hungry for, which then points to my responsibility, points to my work. I wrote this the other day on my threads that summarizes the takeaway. A man with abundance who has never truly known hunger, ever felt the pangs of privation, has the luxury to check abundance at the door, has the responsibility to check it so that he may know what is real, so that he may feel. You see, in this regard, in all the ways that you have been filled, becomes your responsibility to withstand the austerity of. I am in the very unique position to not put food on the highest pedestal of importance, to not work for food, to not have it be the only thing. Because I am in the position of luxury to not have it be that, which then means I have the responsibility to work for more than just food, more than just to feed my stomach. Because I have and can count on the basics to be there, I have the knowing that I will never go hungry. So then I have to work on other things that are greater than that. I am uniquely in the position to pursue what is greater. And when I work, I don't get tired. I don't get thirsty. I don't get hungry. I can just work. I don't need to spare any energy or thought into survival because I know it is there if I reach for it. So then I can just work and stand in the sun for 10 hours a day and run around and not have at all my body enslave me. If I didn't have this upbringing, my work would be different. My capacity would be different because the source of my abundance would be different. And the angle of where the light shined into my life would be different. And so the places I have to pass that light onto would be different. The places that illuminate themselves to me as relevant call themselves to me as my work would be different. Think about your own self, where you have been privileged, where you can recognize the privilege, where you have been blessed. And sometimes that means even looking at the things you didn't have, which made you stronger in another regard. My friend who was never fed makes it a point to feed everyone else, cares more than anyone else about the experience someone else is having, how much they ate, did they like what they ate. He will go out of his way to cook specific things that he thinks have to be just right. Hand squeeze gallons of lime juice because it has to be just right. His lack turned into a blessing for everyone else because he makes sure they never lack. That is his blessing and his responsibility to carry because of the capacity of love and care he built in that regard. Ironically, from not having it and then being able to give it in abundance. There's a beauty in that too. This whole conversation is about what you have the capacity to do, to hold, as care in your heart, as lessons in your being, as skills in your hands, as passion in your awareness. Those very things call you to give that exact thing to the world. That is your work. To all of us, much is given if we choose to notice it, acknowledge it. And to whom much is given, much is tested, and much is expected in return. And the most beautiful part is you were designed, made to give it. I love you, family. Stay true always. I see you on the next show.